So,
You look like a teenager. I want to be like Caleb.
I'll briefly explain the history of the city. The city is sort of like Colossia that we had been. There are not many things written about it. All of our information is coming from very, very late sources, so we are not very sure. But when the archaeologists conducted excavations, particularly in this area, they started excavating the city in 1962, more or less. They let us know that this was a city from the Hellenistical period. So most of the historians are dating it back to the 3rd century BC, when they founded in this region a small commercial colony. If you look at a Turkey's map, you will see that Thyatira is located right in the middle of all the churches. So strategically speaking, it's like an important stop for most of the commercial caravans passing from this place, also for the travelers. If you're traveling from Ephesus to Sardes, from Sardes to Smyrna, you have to pass from here, like it's going to be in the middle. That's why it served as an important spot for many civilizations to pass from here. The chronology of the city is pretty much the same with all the cities that we had been so far. 2nd century BC, the Roman people came here. Then afterwards it was destroyed by the earthquakes. Up until 5th, 6th centuries, we used to have a city here, or something reminiscent of an organized city. But right now these are the only ruins. The ancient Thyatira disappeared. It was covered with soil, as you might imagine. When they started excavations, all these buildings were all around, so this is the only area that they were able to recover. Most of the ancient sources usually mention the trade of grapes. We saw a lot of grapes. Tobacco, that's another important product of the region. And also purple dyed wool. Purple dyed wool. Okay, we told you that the color purple was a symbol of the Roman royal family, so it was quite famous here. We know the name of the city from the book of Acts 2, right? In chapter 16. It says that when Paul and Silas went to Philippi, a city that you will visit soon, there they met with Lydia from Thyatira, from this city, a dealer of the purple cloth, right? They stayed in her house. She was converted into Christianity, which actually makes her the first convert in the European soil. So Lydia is sort of important, and he's from the city. So it's quite apparent that the textile products were important here. In some of the Roman era documents, they also mention the guilds, like commercial guilds. You would find in the city guilds for coppersmiths, for tanners, for fabric producers, guilds for fishermen. Actually, they were all located in the commercial area of the street, which was one of the reasons also in the letter to Thyatira you will find some problems about Jezebel, right? This woman, this false prophet that we have from the city, like a metaphor actually, because originally she's from the Old Testament, but you're going to see some references about Jezebel provoking the local Christian population to eat sacrificed meat or to commit adultery with her. Um, this is strongly tied to the culture of guilds in the Roman culture. Okay, let's say that you're a member of Coppersmith Guild. You probably have a god or goddess taking care of your job. Okay, and during the ceremonies, during the religious festivals, you do have to go to the temple. Okay, in most of the cases, inevitably, maybe they were also consuming the meat that was cooked in the temple, which created a lot of problems. According to Joan, it doesn't bode well with the rules of Christianity, and they couldn't eat that meat. So you will also find some historical references about this consumption of the sacred meat, particularly a huge problem between the guilds, between the people living and working in the city selling their products. In order to make a full excavation, they would need to probably take all these buildings down, okay, so they can discover. If we have a street here, that means that the street is continuing towards that area. But there's a school, on top of it there's a football stadium, so they have to take all of it in order to do a full excavation. They finished the reconstruction of these columns that you can see here last year. That is quite new. Some archaeologists came here. The government invested some money into Thyatira, so they're trying to reconstruct what they found. What you can see here is a Syrian street. We talked about the Syrian cities in Laodicea. I don't know if you remember, I told you that most of the commerciants selling their products used to come from Syria during the Roman periods. They used to have their shops here, that's why you have the Syrian street. It was a colonnaded street which had columns in both sides. Okay, and that street was covered with a roof. So when it was rainy, they were usually selling their products under the roof. Another thing that they found is a basilica dedicated to Saint John. This is right behind me. They are dating this back to the 5th century. In all the 7 churches that you visit, you're going to find the Basilica of Saint John, except Sardis. Sardis used to have one, but it just disappeared a long time ago. This is just a reconstruction of the archaeologists. They made this reconstruction of the walls in 1962, so it's quite old. But this church has more or less the same construction like the Church of Laodicea that we had been. It also has the shape of a cross, as you can see. It probably had a roof. It didn't have any domes because during the excavations they did not find any domes. It probably used to have some precious ground mosaics too that did not arrive up until today. And what you can see on the right hand side, this semicircle building, is the altar of the church. There they would put the altar and also these famous grape icons. Okay? So Akhisar today is a city that produces still a lot of grape and tobacco. I would say approximately 80,000 people living in the city, so it's not that big compared to the other centers that we have. Okay, Akhisar is the name of this district. Right now we're in a different province named Manisa. Manisa, which is very close to this.
Josh, you want to take it?